Hi, thanks for joining us for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South. I'm Chris Cooper. Daffodils are one of the early heralds of spring. Today we're going to look at the different varieties. Also, weeds are a never-ending problem. Using pre-emerge may get rid of many of them before you have to pull. That's just ahead on the last episode of this season of the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South.
Production funding for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South is provided by the WKNO Production Fund, the WKNO Endowment Fund, and by viewers like you. Thank you.
Welcome to the Family Plot. I'm Chris Cooper. Joining me today is Joellen Dobbin. Ms. Joellen is the Director of Landscape at the University of Memphis, and Mr. D is here. Thanks for joining us.
Good to be here.
All right, Joellen, so let's talk about daffodils.
Yes.
So
Daffodils, narcissus, jonquils, you know, they're all intertwined into the same area.
Okay.
But you get your most for your money when you buy a daffodil around here, especially here in the Mid-South, because they do well.
They do very well.
And you know, one of the reasons, nothing eats them. No, they are
That's a good
poisonous,
thing.
and that's probably why they come back so reliably, because they're deer resistant. Voles don't eat them, so you know they're poisonous. So nothing eats them.
That's good.
So that's probably why they are the most reliable in this area. Now, it's good to plant them this time of year. The fall is the best time to plant spring blooming flowers, and daffodils are part of that. And you're going to say, well, there's all different kinds, and we're going to go over that as briefly as we can. But the depth of how you plant them, you got to think the size of the bulbs. And you want to at least plant them twice the depth that the bulb is.
Twice?
Yeah.
Okay.
So if a bulb is 3 inches tall, you want to plant it 6 inches deep.
Gotcha.
If the bulb is only 2 inches tall, then you only can plant it 4 inches deep. So I mean, it just depends on the size of the daffodil bulb that you have.
Okay, and this is at the bottom of the hole, right?
Bottom of the hole.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, and to understand some of these divisions, we're going to go over the parts of the daffodil flower, because the first part you're going to need to know are the petals or the perianth that surround the cup or the corona that's in the middle. And then on that, they distinguish them by the color of the eyes or the rim color or the size of the rim. So those are the things for identifying a daffodil that we're going to be going over. Daffodils live all over the country, and England and the United States all have societies for daffodils, so you can go to those websites to get more information. But the American Daffodil Society recognizes 13 different divisions of daffodils. Okay. And the more that I love daffodils, so the more that I have known daffodils, the more of each of these divisions that I seem to have at my house or that I've planted
13,
somewhere.
Mr. D, 13 divisions.
That's an unlucky number. We need to come up with another one.
Well, there is two major divisions. There are large ones, and then there's a miniature category, but they all are divided somewhere into these 13 different categories. So the first division is the one that we all recognize, that is the trumpet daffodils. It's going to have one flower per stem. The corona or the cup is going to be as long or longer than the petals or the perianth are surrounding it. And good examples of that are the old-fashioned King Alfred. And Mount Hood is another very popular one that most people have, and Marique, which is another one that looks a lot like King Alfred's. In fact, it's probably taken over as the major daffodil that is sold.
Okay.
Division 2, large cupped daffodils. So as it says, again, one flower per stem. The corona or the cup is more than a third, but less than equal to the length of the petals.
Wow.
So examples of that are Ice Follies, Ferris Wheel, and Chromacolor.
Wow.
And I have Chromacolor, that's mine. I have some Ice Follies. Then there's the third division are the small cupped daffodils. And that, as it says, the cup is smaller.
Oh, okay.
But there's, again, only one flower per stem, and the cup is not more than a third of the length of the petals.
Wow.
And examples of that are Barrett Browning and Dreamlight. Now, Division 4 is the double daffodils, and these people love these. They don't typically look like a normal daffodil because they have one or more flowers per stem, and they have the doubling of the perianth and or the corona, or both. So it's just a full head of flowers, and a good example of this is Tahiti and Cheerfulness, and I have some Cheerfulness.
These are great names.
Yeah, and Cheerfulness is very fragrant too. Oh, okay. Division 5 are the triandrous daffodils. Now there are 2 or more flowers per stem. The perianth segments are reflexed, which means they kind of point backwards, and examples of those are Moonlight Sensation and Thalia. Thalia is one of it blooms really late, and it's white and it's beautiful, and it really does extend your daffodil season. So that's a favorite, one of the favorite ones of mine. Division 6 are the cyclamenous daffodils. I get 1 flower per stem. The perianth segments are significantly reflexed. You know, think of a cyclamen flower. Okay. The petals go way back, and that's what these are reflective of. Okay. And then the flower kind of at an acute angle to the stem, so they kind of drop a little bit. Next are Division 7s. That's the jonquilla daffodils. They have 1 to 5 flowers per stem, and the corona or the cup is usually wider than long, and they are fragrant. And examples of these, which I have one of, is Pipette, and I really like that one, and Golden Echo. Division 8 are the Tazetta daffodils. Now there are 3 to 20 flowers per stem.
3 to 20?
3 to 20 flowers per stem. They're very small, but they are very fragrant, and good examples of those are like Minnow and Avalanche.
Avalanche.
Yeah, we think of the whole stem full of avalanche
Minnow,
of daffodils.
small.
Yes.
Okay.
Division 9 are the Poetica daffodils. Their perianth segments are always pure white. So the petals surrounding the cup are always pure white. And the corona is very short and usually rimmed in some colors. Okay. Division 10 is the Bulboconium hybrids. Wow. That's 1 flower per stem, but it's got a very dominant corona or cup. And the little petals, the petals around it are very insignificant. So you have this huge cup, and they're very small. And white petticoat and golden bells are examples of those. Division 11 is the split cup daffodils, and of course the split corona is in a single or in many whorls around the petals. Some examples of those are Drama Queen. And
you like that, Mr. D?
So, I mean, you know, but they're very frilly looking daffodils. They don't look like typical daffodils. Right. Division 12 are all the other daffodils, cultivars that they don't fall in one of the other categories. And Division 13, the daffodils are listed by botanical name, and they're usually species and wild hybrids. So that is all 13 different divisions of daffodils, and all of them fall in some category of those. So we have lots of daffodils to choose from, so surely there'll be something for everybody to enjoy.
Surely, yeah. 13 divisions?
Yes.
Mr. D, you like daffodils?
I like daffodils, I really do, and I think I'm trying to figure out a way that we could agriculturally use them if they're resistant to deer and insects and diseases. I mean, you ever had a disease on one?
No.
That you know of? And you know, I turkey hunt. I go out in the woods, and they're out there. You can tell that is one way to positively identify where a house used to be. Because they're still there. The house can be long gone. The chimney can be melted down into the ground, but the daffodils still live, and they spread from there.
Yeah, that's why they do so well here. It's wonderful. The daffodils do great here.
Out in the middle of nowhere.
Wow.
Along ditches and stuff where people used to have plant them. Yeah, daffodils do very well here.
Obviously so. So any fertilizing? How do we prepare the soil for them?
Again, the depth that you plant them is probably the most important, and well drained, because as you know, we planted some out here in the beginning when we started the bed out front, and they didn't live through the winter because they rotted in the ground.
I do
so there's got to be a well-drained area.
Got to be well-drained.
They just don't want to rot in the ground. That's probably the worst problem with them, is getting a well-drained area so that they don't, rot during the winter.
Mr. Ellen, that was good. We could tell you like daffodils.
I love daffodils.
We could tell that. All right, Mr. D, stay away from that drummer queen now.
Yep,
Stay away from that one.
I will. I will. I'll try.
All right, thank you much. There are a number of gardening events going on in the next couple of weeks. Here are just a few that might interest you. All right, Mr. D, let's talk a little bit about pre-emerge.
Pre-emergent
Yeah.
herbicides.
Herbicides.
That's right. A very, very useful and important tool to use.
I would agree with that.
For homeowners and commercial farmers. And, you know, if you don't believe that, then I would encourage you to treat half of your front yard with pre-emergent herbicide and leave the other half untreated.
Right.
The problem that probably most folks have with putting out pre-emergent herbicides is, you know, if they're doing it themselves, if they don't see any weed out there, they don't think they need to do anything. And if you wait until the weeds emerge, the pre-emergent herbicides are not going to do anything for the emerged weeds. Now, that's not going to say that it's not going to help you. If you apply a pre-emergent herbicide after weeds have emerged, it will stop any more weeds from emerging. But the ones that are there will continue to grow. So you'll have to mix a post-emergent product with the pre-emergent product to take care of your problem. The timing is important.
Yes, it's crucial.
For, you know, mostly in the fall, you put out pre-emergent herbicide in the fall of the year to control winter weeds, and then in the spring of the year to control summer weeds. And in the fall, when temperatures drop below 60 degrees at night, that is when you need to control winter annuals, and that, you know, happens fairly early in many cases. In the springtime, when daytime temperatures reach 65 degrees Fahrenheit for 4 or more days, that's when you need to put that out. And I'm reading from a publication that a friend of mine, Dr. Fitzroy Bullitt of Tennessee State University has put out. It's called Lawn Weed Management.
It's a good one.
And that information is in here. He also has some really nice pictures of examples of winter weeds and summer weeds, which will help you. It is important to identify what your problem is before you go out there and try to treat it.
Know the weed. That's
right. And some examples of summer weeds are wild violet, spurge, white clover, horse nettle, green foxtail, sicklepod, yellow nutsedge, Johnson grass, crabgrass, buckhorn, plantain, you know, carpet weed, things like that. Winter weeds, annual bluegrass is one of the toughest ones. Thistle, musk thistle, Carolina geranium, wild lettuce, purple dead nettle, wild garlic, orchard grass, hop clover, henbit, chickweed, dandelion, and, you know, others. Many of the herbicides will take care of more than one species. A grass pre-emergent herbicide will not kill the broadleaf. The broadleaf pre-emergent herbicides will not kill the grasses that you're trying to kill. So in many cases, you're going to have to use 2 pre-herbicides mixed together. You need to make sure that the product that you use is labeled for the turf grass that you have. That is the most important thing, because if you've got put a grass material out that kills Bermuda grass in a fescue lawn, you don't want to put that out in a Bermuda grass lawn, right? Right. Because it'll kill your Bermuda grass. But there's a lot of choices out there. As with all pesticides, it's very, very important that you read the label.
Yes.
Very important that you properly calibrate your equipment, know that you're putting the right amount out there, because many of these type products, if you overdo it, they will kill the grass that you're trying to protect, or the lawn that you're trying to protect. So you don't want to, it's not a case where a little bit does a little good and a lot does a lot better. It's a little bit does a good and
good
too
enough
much
job.
will kill your turf grass. But you know, that's kind of in a nutshell. I know there are different formulations. They're granular products and they're liquid formulations.
Which one would you prefer? Which one you think would be the best?
Personally, I prefer the liquids because number one, they're cheaper. usually,
okay.
you know, on a per acre basis or per 1,000 square foot basis. I can do a better job of getting a more even distribution out there. It probably takes a little bit less water to activate it than the granular products. Sometimes the granular products there are places that you need to use it, you know, around flower beds, or, you know, there are places you can't, you know, drag a sprayer and, you know, really small areas. The granular products, most of the time you can put out with a drop spreader, a broadcast fertilizer type spreader, or even you know, the spreaders that you put on, you know, you hold in your hand, or there are those that you strap on and put out. But I think there's a significant difference in cost. Granulars are quite a bit more expensive than the liquid products.
And the granulars have to be watered in, which is...
They've got to be watered in. Almost all of them have to be watered in, and a quarter to half inch of water is important with even the liquid, a lot of the liquid products that you put out. So the label will tell you that, and follow the label. Now, on the other hand, if you've got an irrigation system and there's a rain forecast like we have forecast, you know, in the future, within 24 to 48 hours, then you don't run your irrigation system, because too much water can be a bad thing.
That's
it
right.
can leach it out of the root zone. And you know, you got to, you know, pre-emergent herbicides, they don't necessarily keep a seed from germinating, but you know, when that seed germinates, it puts out a little stem and a root, and the pre-emergent herbicide, when it comes in contact with that, it stops it from going any further.
Yeah, usually inhibits the formation of roots. That's usually what that is.
Right.
And sometimes the granulars are easier for people to use, and for timing too, with rain events and things.
Right.
It's easier to, because you can have it down on the ground, and the timing to where the water has to be on it is not as critical as it would be with the liquids.
It'll wait for you. It'll wait for you a little bit. That's true.
So I'm sure, do you use a lot of the granulars or liquid?
Yeah, we use both,
there at the University of Memphis?
But granular is more of a way we're going to go, because we have, of course, we overseed a lot of areas,
Right,
so
so you
we
have to be
don't
careful.
put any of the pre-emergents in that area in the fall.
Yeah, that's
Like-
important.
yeah, that's
if
really
you're going to
important.
oversee with ryegrass, you know, or anything.
Or, or if you're seeding fescue even, you don't want to put pre-emergents down there.
Right.
Right.
How long do, you know, some of the herbicides last before they have to be reapplied? And it usually will tell you that on the label on some of the products.
Yeah, and that kind of brings up another point. You know, probably, I don't know, many of the pre-emergent herbicides, they recommend doing a sequential or split application, and that extends the length of coverage. And I don't know, 4 to 6 weeks is kind of probably an average.
It is. If you're looking at preen,
so.
trifurulin, it is.
Yeah.
But you know, it just depends. I know the timing, because we have interesting falls and winters around here, because we don't necessarily get really the kind of steady, typical weather that a lot of the other parts of the country are in. So there's a more opportunity for weeds to germinate, so to ensure that that doesn't happen, and the same thing with the fall and the spring. Sometimes they will have 3 or 4 applications of pre-emergents during the year at different times to try to hit those windows.
And sequential is usually better. And if you can go with more than one application. One's probably not going to do the trick.
No, one's not going to do the trick.
No.
It's going to be multiple applications, and then
One will help.
Yeah, one will help.
Yeah. It's not
And then a lot of that too depends on soil type, pH, you know, soil moisture,
and what you're growing
and
there.
what you're growing. So
Right.
good stuff, Mr. D. We appreciate that. Real good stuff. Thank you much.
We've noticed that all of the pansies have been disrupted around here. And if you look at one of these, you can see that it's been chewed off. What could be going on here? Well, if I hadn't seen it myself in the past, I would have not known what varmint was taking care of this. And it is actually most likely going to be a squirrel, because they like to chew and eat the pansies. So if you have this problem, you just have to make sure you replant the pansies that they disturb, or if they don't, hopefully they won't eat the whole thing. And you can put deer deterrents and things like that around. It's going to be some kind of fox or wolf urine or something like that. Pepper, cayenne pepper sometimes works too. So you can use those if you want to deter them. But we'll replant these, so hopefully they'll continue to do well.
All right, so here's our Q&A segment. These are some good questions with some great pictures. Y'all ready?
We're ready.
All right, here's our first viewer email. Why are the leaves of my rubber tree plant curling under? Mary from YouTube. So what do you think about that one, Joelle?
Well, I would like to have a picture.
That would have helped.
But it could be several things. It could be insect, because sometimes you get curling leaves with insect damage at the tips of the leaves. But if it's all over the plant, it could be environmental of some kind, which might have to do with the even moisture in the soil, or maybe it got dried out, and if then you water it, then you get dried out. It's not even enough, and the plant is just trying to tell you that it's not happy. Rubber plants are pretty easy to grow, so I'll probably a little less watering might keep it on the dry side of moist, I always say. And
Dry side of
the dry side of moist.
Dry side of moist.
Yeah,
I like that.
I've always said that. Well, it likes to be on the dry side of moist, because
Or maybe the moist side of dry.
Okay.
either one of
Either
those
one
would
might,
work.
yeah.
Yes, because they like to have not a lot of water. They don't require a lot of water. Think of where they are in the tropics. They're getting most of their moisture from just the atmosphere, and not necessarily the ground. So, but they are very good house plants to have.
Good house plants. So there you have it, Mary. Thank you for the question. Here's our next viewer email. Has Mr. D's name written all over it. When is the best time to prune a fig tree? This is Mava from Memphis.
That's an easy question.
Easy
question. Early spring, after the last frost, and before new growth starts.
Okay.
So no matter where you are, if you can hit that time period, you're perfect.
Perfect.
It's time to prune. Sometimes you might, make a mistake there, because sometimes you get a frost later than you think you're going to get one.
True.
So, and it probably wouldn't hurt for a little bit of new growth to start. So you could err on that side a little bit. The reason you wait until after the danger of the last killing frost is because sometimes the cold weather is going to kill tissue, and you're always going to want to take the dead, and diseased limbs out when you prune. And so you want to make sure Mother Nature does what she does,
right?
And then you go in there and do what you do.
All right. That'll get it, Maven. That's good stuff from Mr. D. All right. You'd be perfect. All right. Here's our next via email. I've gotten orange rust fungus under the leaves of my purple raspberry blackberry hybrid. Should I avoid wood chip mulching, as that would promote the fungus on my raspberry blackberry hybrid? Chad, YouTube. So he sees the fungus, right?
Yeah.
But he wants to avoid using the wood chip mulch that may promote the fungus. Interesting.
I really don't think that that's going to have anything to do with it.
No.
I think
never heard
having
of
mulch on the ground is a good thing,
good
especially
thing.
through the winter and everything. But it's the leaves. When they fall, don't let them stay in the mulch. Pick those
Disease
up.
leaves.
Yeah.
Right. So practice good
disease
sanitation
leaves.
would be
Yeah.
one good thing.
Because it's caused by fungus.
Yeah, it's
and
caused by the fungus.
probably airborne, and the presence of the chips, I don't think, are going to create a problem. That's not going to create a problem. And of course, if you have a history of a problem with rust on these types of blackberries or raspberries,
right.
this, according to the Home Orchard Spray Guide, which University of Tennessee has, recommends using Immunox.
Yeah, familiar with that.
And you can use it up to 4 applications per year, but early to mid bloom, and then 3 to 4 applications at 2-week intervals after bloom, and that should take care of your problem.
Okay. But yeah, mulch is fine.
Mulch
Right.
is
Just
fine,
practice
yeah.
good sanitation.
Good,
like you
the
mentioned.
sanitation. Yeah.
Right.
Keep the.
Yeah.
Don't let it stay down there. Pick them
Yeah.
all up.
I'm not a big. I like mulch in the summertime, but I'm not a real proponent of mulch in the wintertime because
okay.
wet
Alright.
soil gives off ground heat.
Okay.
And if you mulch in the wintertime, do it lightly. Make sure it's not very thick, because you want that, wet soil to be able to, give off the ground heat to protect the plants. Yeah.
Makes sense.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, makes sense.
Fun.
Okay. So there you have it, Chad. I hope that helps you out. Mr. D, Mr. Olin, it's been fun.
It's been good.
Thank you much. Thank you much for being here.
Let's go dormant.
Let's go dormant, right? All right. Thank you much. Remember, we love to hear from you. Send us an email or letter. The email address is familyplot@wkno.org, and the mailing address is Family Plot, 7151 Cherry Farms Road, Cordova, Tennessee 38016. Or you can go online to familyplotgarden.com. That's all the time we have for this year of the Family Plot. We're going dormant for the winter, but we'll be back next March with new episodes. We want to thank all of our guests this year who shared their expertise with us. Also, we really want to thank you for tuning in each week. Remember, if you need gardening help, go online to familyplotgarden.com. Also, you can always pick up the phone and call your local extension office. They'd be happy to answer your questions. I'm Chris Cooper. Be sure to join us next year for the Family Plot, Gardening in the Mid-South. Thank you, have a great holiday season, and be safe.